Well, Andy Mock is a Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for China and Globalisation. He joins us on Skype from Beijing. Thanks for being on the programme here today. To what extent, then, has President Biden's comments about Taiwan been regarded by China as some kind of threat?
Well, I think we have to be very careful here, Kerry. The optimistic take on this is that it was just an infelicitous expression of what White House officials had reiterated, that there is no change in the U.S.'s one China policy. Because the question, if you listen carefully, the question that was asked was, would the U.S. intervene militarily? And we can interpret this, perhaps this is a little bit of a legalistic interpretation, but not deploying military forces, but perhaps sticking to the Taiwan Relations Act, providing defensive equipment to Taiwan, could be considered a military intervention. Now, of course, if we see this and it was intended as a deviation from this long-standing policy, now this would be very provocative and very, very dangerous.
So, I mean, White House officials then attempted to clarify the U.S. position. So, in reality, is there any change to the U.S. position over Taiwan?
Well, again, I think it really depends how we interpret President Biden's response, that yes, the U.S. would intervene militarily. Now, if that means following the requirements of the Taiwan Relations Act, then it would not, of course, be a change. Now, the danger we run into here is that if there is indeed a change, that we have to remember that this notion of strategic ambiguity was not meant for China's benefit. It was actually meant to protect the U.S. Because if the U.S. gave a security guarantee to Taiwan, it could very well end up in the situation of the tail wagging the dog, meaning that this would embolden Taiwan, drag the U.S. into a conflict that it would not want to be in. And to paraphrase something from the movie Rocky, starring Sylvester Stallone, we have to be careful here as President Biden writing a check that the U.S. can't cash, and that this is the danger, that it could lead to needless escalation and a highly destabilizing situation in the Asia-Pacific region.
And with that danger, then, how could this feed into the coming so-called Quad meeting of leaders led by the U.S.?
Well, this is, I think, another very, very important question, which the Ukraine conflict has shown, that the rhetoric, the messaging is that the West, the Quad, is united against what the U.S. has called this epic battle between democracies and autocracies. But we've seen a number of countries, including India, which is one of the 4 countries in the Quad, actually not taking a stand against Russia. So I think we really have to see how things play out politically. Australia just elected a new prime minister. India, again, I think long has stated and its independence and matched those words by actions as well. So it remains to be seen. Again, it's very clear that the U.S. has moved to a much more overtly confrontational stance versus China. But what is unclear is how many other countries are willing to go along for this ride.
We shall leave it there then. Andy Mock, Senior Research Fellow at the Centre for China and Globalisation. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you.